Hi everyone, so we're here on the last day of the Animals Committee. I'm here with Svein Fossa. Do you want to introduce yourself and who you are, all the different hats that you wear?
Well, thank you. I'm in the Animals Committee on behalf of Ornamental Fish International, where I'm Vice President and have been representing them in CITES for the last 26 years. Yep. I'm also President of the European Pet Organization, based in Brussels, and I'm Secretary General of the Norwegian Pet Trade Association.
Oh, great stuff. So, and a lot of you watching may already know me. I'm Matt Bond. I'm Chief Executive of OATA, but while I'm here representing the European Pet Organization, of which OATA is a member, and it really allows us to work in partnership on a lot of these issues that affect the trade internationally as well as in the UK. So first off, Svein, do you want to give us a little bit of a overview of what Animals Committee is and really why do we bother showing up here?
Good question. I think the main reason we want to show up here is because Animals Committee is the science-based part of CITES. Along with the standing committee, Animals Committee is an advisory committee aimed at preparing statements and opinions for the Conference of the Parties, where all the formal decisions are made. Yeah. But that means that the Animals Committee is not making any decisions themselves except on formulating documents for the Conference of the Parties.
And I guess it's where working groups are formed where you can kind of really get into, you've got the space to get into that detail and explain what issues are facing the trade, right?
It's where most of the scientific discussions concerning CITES is made. As soon as it gets to the Conference of the Parties, it's a lot more difficult to get scientific arguments into the debate, because then it's more on a political basis, and the delegates come mostly with pre-decided opinions on every matters. So this is the time to give in the arguments on practicality, scientific basis, what a regulation will achieve or not achieve. So that's why we are here.
Yeah, so what are some of the key take-homes from this meeting, really? I mean, I've seen quite a few positives, I would say, particularly around things like marking and stony coral, but do you want to go through some of those?
Well, I think that this has been one of the better Animals Committee meetings, because it has been very effective, very focused on everything, and there has been formed working groups that will work intersessional up to the next Animals Committee meeting that will cover very relevant topics for the pet sector, not least the aquatic sector, where for me, I think the work that has been going on for years on stony corals is highly interesting. As on stony corals, we will have thorough discussions on the practicality of definitions and reporting systems for corals in trade, to take away a bit of the uncertainty and the inaccuracy that the trade and also the managing authorities are faced with.
Is a real opportunity for us to try and make the case for simplified reporting, because at the moment it's very burdensome, isn't it?
It's very burdensome, and it's practiced differently all over the world. So much of the data that comes out of this is also useless.
Yes.
Useless for CITES, useless for the management authorities in the different countries, and totally confusing for the trade.
Yeah, and what about marking as well? Because that feels like this meeting. It feels like a bit of a culmination of a lot of the work that we've been doing in the pet sector, not just us, but other people we work with as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, there has for quite some time been a increased interest in demanding marking of specimens in the trade. And this is particularly relevant to Appendix 1 species, but there is more and more talk about it for certain Appendix 2 species also. And what CITES wants is microchipping of any specimens coming from species where there is a high risk of illegal trade. And from a trade perspective, we have always seen this as a complicated area. Injecting a big transporter in a small specimen is not easy. But now we have serious talks on how to make sure that marking demands are proportionate to both the trade situation and to the species we are talking about. And there is a very interesting study from Germany that has been thoroughly discussed in this Animals Committee, which really highlights these issues.
And I think from our perspective, it's about making sure that existing CITES listings and any future ones are effectively less impactful because of these marking requirements, right? So it's about actually injecting a bit of pragmatism into the CITES resolutions.
Absolutely, and this ties up also to the other topic that we've been discussing here on captive breeding, where there is more and more expectation that breeders should prove that what they breed actually comes from captive breeding, and that they have a founder stock that has been legally acquired.
Yeah, so we've got, that's a topic that we'll cover this afternoon in the last session, isn't it? But I mean, it's very welcome that that there will be a workshop, much like there was with the marine ornamentals, for us to discuss a lot of these issues and, really get into the detail and try and streamline some of those rules.
Absolutely.
So in terms of CITES in general, what would you say, some of the challenges are for our sector in terms of engaging with CITES?
The main challenge is always to be heard. A lot of people who are not familiar with CITES thinks that, well, this is easy. You go to a meeting, you tell them what is right, and they listen and do that.
Yes.
But when you go to a meeting with, Animals Committee, perhaps 400, 500 people, or even worse, to a conference of the parties with 3,000 people, one man or woman cannot go there and say what is right and expect that everyone will follow you.
Yeah.
We have to be several people to be able to engage on all the arenas within a meeting where you have a potential to be heard, and you have to work over time, because it's first when you learn people, learn to know people, and people know you and understand where you're coming from, and that you are actually seriously interested in finding a good solution, both for conservation and for trade.
Yeah. I think the stony corals work has been a real example of that, because we as a sector have been, pushing, hard for reform of those rules and a mechanism to actually get people to get trades views across, that kind of thing, and really rationalize those rules and trying to sort of convince people that that's the right way forward and that's the right approach. I think I described it the other day as using a canoe to kind of change the course of an oil tanker. It's, you know, it takes a long time, as you say, to actually convince people of, okay, maybe we can engage in a different way. So
Indeed.
I think that's true for lots of different topics in CITES, not just stony coral.
Absolutely. And it's not only us in a canoe, it's hundreds of other canoes doing a push in the opposite direction.
That is very true, yes.
So I think it's important that people in the trade and in the hobbies who are affected by what happens in CITES realize that this is not something you solve in a speech of 10 minutes.
Yes.
It's a long-term work. I've been involved with CITES for 26 years, and over those years there has been a massive change in how people engage with me, how they listen to me, as I've been identified as something more than a tourist in CITES, coming over and over again and keeping the same kind of target for what I'm saying. People know that I'm not defending everything that happens in trade and trafficking. I'm genuinely interested in having good conservation outcomes of CITES.
Exactly. I mean, so in terms of what the future holds for CITES, I mean, what do you think? Are there causes for optimism going forward, would you say?
I've always been an optimist, and I think that's what makes it worthwhile to continue in this. If I didn't believe that we achieved something, I wouldn't have been doing this for so many years. There are ups and downs. I think this Animals Committee meeting has been a throw up, as it has been one of the more positive ones. That doesn't mean that things have been solved this week. We will continue to work for a couple of years, and then we will see what happens when the things we have discussed here comes to a formal vote at the Conference of the Parties in 2028.
It has been, one thing I've observed, which has been very nice, is to see that there are parties now making the same points that we've been making about various topics within CITES on the floor themselves independently. That's something that is, like, particularly on, you know, some of the issues around captive breeding, some of the, like, talking about stuff like, you know, livelihoods, that kind of thing, stony corals as well. It's good to see parties that are actually, and when parties start picking up trades concerns, you've got a good chance of things actually changing then, because it's the parties that have the power, isn't it?
Indeed, and I think maybe for the listeners here that it's worthwhile to point out that parties are the different countries that are members of CITES. Otherwise, it could be misunderstood. But listening to country delegations saying now what we have been saying as an industry or as a sector for 20 plus years is extremely encouraging. You will, of course, never be able to tell whether that is because we have successfully brought the message to them, but I think it plays some role in this. There has been a massive change in how some country delegations talk about the issues that are important to us.
I think that's a good note to end on, don't you? So yeah, thank you very much.